Hey, it's Tia Carrere, and you're listening to Kino Kingdom with Britt
and Laszlo
and Rupert. Party on, guys.
With Robert Smith. Wow. Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening. This is Kino Kingdom 116, and I'm going to start off with a couple of little stories. One of them is not so much a story, but I was watching a documentary about something the other day, and I thought, oh my God, this is an example of a positive example of something we mentioned quite a lot on the podcast here in Kino Kingdom, and that is films with punctuation in their titles. And we've talked about this, and we couldn't think of a good example, and I think I actually have one.
Okay.
And that is, What About Bob?
Mm-hmm.
With Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray, which was it's an acceptable film, it's a decent film, and it's actually quite a question mark in it. That's it. It's something I was just dawned on me. If anyone else can think of an example, email us at kinokingdom@protonmail.com. But can either of you two think of an example?
There's no one with an exclamation mark.
There's the Aronofsky one.
Tora.
Tora. It's got two.
Oh, it's got two.
I think it's.
That sounds like we'd have those upside down Spanish exclamation marks as well. I don't know what they're called.
Mother by Darren Aronofsky has a small M and a capital. And an exclamation mark at the end.
Is that U or PG, that film? The rating.
It is. I think it's G, suitable for all.
Suitable for people called Gary.
Children.
Yeah. Imagine if there was a film you could only watch if you were called Gary. Suitable for Gary. That's a film, isn't it? If Suitable for Gary would be a film, and on the cover it would be like Ben Stiller in jogging bottoms sat on a couch. And that would be, and he'd be looking forlorn. Suitable for Gary, starring Ben Stiller.
Like a Noah Baumbach film.
And another one is my son did something the other day and I was just thinking about taking it to his logical extreme, and it really tickled me, the thought of it. He was playing Minecraft, and in Minecraft you can put messages on signs, and you can write stories in books and put them on a lectern for other characters to read. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, Daddy, I'm gonna tell you a story. You imagine how long it took, right, with an Xbox controller, with someone like dictating a story to you." So it was like, and then Optimus Prime, and he eats pizza and he's sick on the floor, that kind of thing. Yep. And then he got to like a fight sequence, and he said, and then Optimus Prime starts fighting Megatron, and he turns Megatron round and kicks him up the bum and shouts 1. But then Megatron turns Optimus Prime round and kicks him up the bum and shouts 10. And I thought, it would be so funny if, like, the number you shout before you make contact was like the damage indicator. So, like, I just imagine like UFC bouts starting, and this sort of, and then as one of them goes in for a punch, he shouts 52 and catches him, and then the other guy does a backspin and shouts 75, and in not thinking, you would just shout a really high number, always just up and down a little bit.
And neither fighter's got any idea how much actual health they have.
Yeah, it's context free. Yeah, so one of them like gives a little kick and he goes, 4. Like, just a little tap. Yeah, but I don't think that's how fighting works, really. Otherwise, you just shout out a really high number, and then someone's face would turn into milkshake.
Actually, I think in Borderlands it is how the fighting works. It's a lot of numbers spewing out at people.
Yeah, have you played Borderlands 4?
I think I quit at 1, actually, but
that series has run its course, let me tell you. I just felt like I was just looking at a spreadsheet at one point. I thought, I'm just seeing numbers here, this is nothing enjoyable here. Luckily it was really glitchy and my guns kept disappearing as well. Good. That's fine.
Excellent.
Yeah, the film franchise is just getting started, so there's that.
Do you know, I love Jamie Lee Curtis, but I just thought, no, it's not. It was a quirky, which is a dangerous enough word, like for the first couple of games, but then it's just this new one is neither quirky and it's trying to be serious, but it's not got the right framework to be a serious game, so it just kind of flusters in between them, and I just didn't get on with it. 7 out of 10. So I hope you both feel my lovely men before we go into the next segment of our awesome podcast.
Just before we move on from fighting in films, with numbers and things. I did rewatch the recent Mortal Kombat. I liked how they dropped in the kill phrases like, what is it? Flawless victory and all that. Yeah. And there was a bit though where I noticed when Scorpion harpoons a guy and says, "Get over here," and it's the only line that he speaks in English in the whole film. I thought that was an afterthought, wasn't it? They didn't.
Oh, that man born in ancient Japan.
Yeah,
yeah, I remember watching that, and I still think the original Mortal Kombat's better because it needs to be silly. That sort of film, it either needs to be very, very good or silly, and it's like a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it, but I watched the original not long after, and I thought, yeah, I need the silliness really for this.
Right. It wasn't silly enough for you.
But then
the new one,
no, it wasn't. But the new one, it was like all the serious story about what's his name. But the new one, of course, has got Carl Urban in it, who is like a panacea to movies. So hopefully, I'll enjoy that a bit more.
He's definitely cranking up the not serious based on the trailer I watched.
Yeah, he couldn't get me through Boys, though. He could not get me through Boys. I did lose interest in that TV show, possibly because it's a TV show.
You mean you weren't hooked on his accent?
I don't think even he was hooked on his accent. or even decided.
Settled, did it?
I never quite understood. It was like 1 minute he was in Bradford, and the next minute he was in Bingley. Right. I assume they're English shit towns. You know about that, you Englishers. Right. Now, this is... I've called this new section Kino Kingdom's Movie Question Madness. It's not a good name, so we need some suggestions to come through to kinokingdom@protonmail.com. But I'm going to ask 20 questions, and you're on the same team.
Right.
But these questions are multiple choice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the question, and if you get it right, you get 2 points. But if you have to go to multiple choice and get it, you get 1 point. Okay?
Okay.
So, what have you got a team name?
The Quirky Quizzes.
Oh, nice alliterative.
Yeah. That's one of our favourite words.
Quizzes, is that with a Z at the end as well, or an S?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Quizzes.
Quizzes. The Quirky Quizzes. Okay, are you ready, guys?
Yeah,
we are.
And I'll repeat that again. In which 1995 movie did Bruce Willis play a time-traveling criminal?
Oh,
and I'm going to take the first guess. So
it's the one we took. 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys.
Yes, you get 2 points for that. Well done. Okay,
that came up last week.
And that's the end of the quiz. So well done, guys. Okay. In which X-Men film did the character of Deadpool make his first cinematic appearance? And you can go for multiple choice.
Wolverine.
Oh, almost. X-Men Origins Wolverine. I'll give you.
Come on. Yeah.
You goof.
I sat through that fucking film. I deserve something.
Was that the one where he walks into a Japanese town and they just shoot hooks in his back and he's knackered?
That was the second one. Second Wolverine Origins film.
What, Wolverine Origins 2? That can't be right.
It can't be called Origins.
I think they just called it The Wolverine.
Right, okay.
Oh, that's the one where it starts off with him in the woods, and I thought, oh, here we go. And then he goes to civilization and it goes to pot after
It's a
10
good
minutes.
film for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I just watched that on loop for 2 hours, really. I was watching a man walk through the woods. Jake Gyllenhaal starred as an ambulance-chasing crime photographer in which 2014 film?
Oh, what's it called?
Yeah.
The one with Riz Ahmed. What's it called?
Night Stalker?
No, I'll give you a clue. You're halfway there. Yes, I was going to say it's another X-Men link, really.
Dang.
Nice. I'll give you that. So yeah, that's 6. That's fine. That's good. And obviously feel free to play at home.
If you take our first answers,
we don't give a shit. Sorry, go on.
If you take our first answers, how can we consult with each other?
That's true.
Well, just don't say answers.
Should we just text each other?
We can discuss it. Okay, you can discuss it, but yeah, don't.
Don't.
What I mean is, I don't want you just
films.
I don't want you just you could say is it whatever, but don't just throw out loads of guesses. I don't want that nonsense. This is a very serious board game. I'm trying to be the next Bruce Forsyth. I'm actually wearing a syrup of figs as we speak. What? And I'll repeat that. What is the name of the Roman emperor in the 2000 film Gladiator?
Which one? Because there are
just the
two.
Roman emperor. Do you want? I'll tell you what then. If there are two, I'll let you name the two then. If you know there are two.
Oh god, that's harder.
One called Commodus.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, and the other one's called Arkinz'Dar. Well, there was. Well, I don't know. The answers here for the multi-parter are Julius Caesar, Commodus, Nero, and Augustus. I don't know if that helps.
Oh yeah, I would have definitely got that. I just remember the name Commodus. Commodus 64 is actually his full name.
This is a topical one because I'm going to be talking about him in a bit. Jason Voorhees is the anti-hero of which horror film franchise?
Friday the 13th.
That's exactly right. Oh, man, shit. I haven't been writing down how many points you got. Okay, you're on
just
10.
Put down 40.
Even though there's 20. Well, they would be full marks, actually, wouldn't it? Okay. Which major character only has 12 minutes of screen time in the film Star Wars?
It's got to be Darth
Han Solo?
Oh, really? Really?
Oh, that's a no. That's probably not. No, not 12 minutes. Oh, maybe. No, Alec Guinness. He's in it longer than 12 minutes.
Alec
Darth
Guinness.
Vader, is he in it?
Yeah, his brother, Susan Lager and Lime.
He is. He's not in it a great deal, so it's not a bad shout.
What was your shout?
Darth
Vader.
Yes, that's right.
Oh,
You were flying through this, guys. You got full marks at the moment. Okay, hang on. Yes, this is right. Okay.
I can't pick in minute.
I'm just going to make it much harder, even though it's just a set amount of questions.
Please, can you?
Who wrote, directed, produced, and starred in what is widely considered the best film of all time, Citizen Kane?
Orson Welles.
Yeah, guys.
Orson
Honestly,
Welles.
If you do any better than this, I think I'm going to let you be my friends for a day. In which country was the 2009 movie Slumdog Millionaire primarily set?
Country? India.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I thought there'd be a lot more angst here, but there's you're just flying through them. What was Norman Bates' hobby in the 1960 film Psycho?
Murdering people?
Is that a hobby or more of a calling, isn't it?
It's just a pastime, really.
Look, we've had your CV, Mr. Bates. I see you like murdering people. Interesting. You'll fit right in here at the abattoir.
Well, he had stuffed birds and stuff, didn't he?
Yeah, taxidermy probably, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. But the other options were topiary, origami, or pyromania. A hobby or a crime, some may say.
A basic crime.
Which iconic film actress once said, "I have had a talent for irritating women since I was 14 years old"?
For irritating women, or...
Yeah, I have had a talent for irritating women since I was 14 years old. Don't forget, you can drop to the... And
it was an actress.
Yeah.
Does she mean she irritates women or she can play irritating women? It's a little unclear.
Probably playing irritating women.
Yeah.
Do you want the multiple choice? You can actually...
It might have to be a multi.
Yeah.
Okay, we got Michael Rooker. No, it's not. Elizabeth Taylor, Judy Garland, Marilyn Monroe, or Bette Davis. Is it Bette Davis or Betty Davis?
Betty Davis.
Betty Davis, sorry.
Yeah.
There's no I, so it threw me off.
It could be Betty Davis. I don't think... Well, Judy Garland probably didn't really play irritating women.
Yeah. Assuming
Marilyn
is
Monroe
playing,
wouldn't...
like she might irritate women like because she's beautiful and I don't know.
Yeah, Marilyn Monroe might have pissed women off just because she was hot. So if that's the meaning behind it, it could be Marilyn.
But Brad Pitt doesn't piss me off.
No.
I just look at him when I'm having a wow around. What are you going to go with then?
I'm going to go with Betty Davis.
Laszlo, are you convinced?
Yeah, I feel like Marilyn Monroe's the only one of those answers worth making a question about. But yeah, let's go with Rupert's duff instincts.
that's probably why the answer was Marilyn Monroe, and you got it wrong. How about that?
Shit.
How about
Shit
that?
game for kids.
I've got to say as well that even if you're right, I'm just going to say you're wrong, but not tell you when or how. So how about
Excellent.
that? Yeah. Who was the star of 2016 blockbuster Deadpool?
Ryan Reynolds.
Yes, Ryan. I've only got one card up my sleeve, Reynolds. In the 2014 film of the same name, who or what was Selma?
Place, a town.
Oh, a town. You even had the right wording. All those brains and good in bed as well. And they still didn't let me on Mastermind. Who directed the multi-Oscar winning film Gladiator?
Gee,
Ridley.
There's a theme coming up.
Was it us who had that quiz when we were away once, and all the questions were about like Back to the Future, Alien, and something else? Or was that me and my parents and my brother? And we had like are they all Universal films? But whichever studio's behind them, it said, "Oh, there's so like Universal quiz or whatever." They did have a Paramount quiz, but all the cards were different like sizes, and I couldn't get them in out the box. But they had, and it was like every question was either Alien, Back to the Future, or something else, or ET, and it just it was clear that they were like, well, let's just push the franchises. Who directed? Oh yeah, so you had you had this one, didn't you? Who directed the multi-Oscar winning film Gladiator? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, hang on. Let's check if I'm doing this right. Yes, I am right. Sorry, I thought I miscounted. Okay, so we're on the last few now. What was the name of the Beatles' first feature film? Oof.
I think it's A Hard Day's Night.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not expect you to get that. I knew they had some films, but I'm sure they haven't aged a day as well. Which James Bond actor was contractually forbidden from wearing a tuxedo in any other movie between 1995 and 2002?
Well,
that has to be...
kind of narrows it down a little bit.
Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah. But wasn't he in the
That's
Thomas Crown Affair around about that time? Is he just wearing like a string vest and a nappy in that instead? Surely. He must just wear like a suit, I suppose, not a tuxedo. The Shawshank Redemption was based on a book by which horror author?
Kino.
Yeah.
Right, flying through these. Okay. How many Oscars did Titanic pick up at the 1997 Academy Awards?
It's 11 or 12, I think. Or is it?
I was going to say 13. Oh, you might be right there.
It's around that area, isn't it?
It's one of the numbers that you've said at some point in your life.
Well, if 12 is in the middle, should we just go with that?
Sure.
The next time I punch someone in the face, I'll shout 12. See how much it hurts them. It's 11, guys.
Oh, fuck's sake.
In the famous film franchise, what is Bourne's first name?
Jace.
That's right.
J.C. Wasey.
J.C. Wasey, Borny Morny. Who won an Oscar in 1999 for just 8 minutes of screen time in Shakespeare in Love?
Dame... Old lady, what's her name?
Edna.
M in, what's her name?
Oh, Judi Dench.
Yeah. I think.
There we go.
I didn't know that.
Who is Buzz Lightyear's enemy in Toy Story 2?
Zurg, Emperor Zurg.
Oh, no, Zurg.
Yeah. I was going to say Sid, but yeah. Guys, you had two wrong. 36 out of 40, so a round of applause.
Not bad.
The quirky quizzes have done well there, so yeah. If you want to let us know what you got, we won't open the emails, but it's kinokingdom@protonmail.com. But now...
We'll ignore
We've forgotten the password. We can't access the emails.
It's time to go on to the movies. So I've got kind of 6. But a couple of mine are 2-minute trashings. 2-minute tasters, sorry. So I'm assuming Laszlo's got the most, doesn't he? Because all he does is just sit there and watch the Big Lebowski on repeat.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
15.
Although I now realise that I didn't make many notes on some of these. Oops.
Is that well? I started just from my own memory because if we overrun and I have to sort of go back after a few weeks, I started giving them star ratings on Letterboxd, and there's a couple of 1 stars there this week. Let me tell you. So, yes. So how many have you got, Rupert?
5.
Oh, go on then, Laszlo. It's time for you to pull your trousers up and try to put the fire out with your feet.
Okay. I didn't write much down about this one, which is telling. The Naked Gun, the new one.
Okay.
Starring Liam Neeson as Frank Drebin Jr. This is a reboot / legacy sequel, I guess, to Naked Gun series, which itself was a spin-off of a TV series called Police Squad. And this is it's a weird one. I warmed up to it as it went along. I mean, it's not even really worth going into the story. He's Frank Drebin's son, and I actually can't remember what the crime is involving.
Crime of passion?
It's something to do with. It's got Pamela Anderson in it, and she's very funny. But it's instead of spoofing, I guess the original thing spoofed detective TV shows of the 60s and 70s or even earlier. But so now they've kind of restyled it as a spoof more of modern action films or cop thrillers anyway. And that was with mixed success, I think. So it's got enough of the kind of spirit of the original here and there to stop it feeling like they might as well have just called it something else. Like it has sequences where he's delivering voiceover and he's driving around town and just crashing into things and not noticing that he's crashing into things. And so it's clearly got some love for the originals, but then there's particularly the opening bank robbery is full of just it sort of looks like it's been filmed straight, like the originals look like they're comedies, whereas this has got cinematic lighting and cinematic camera moves. And then some of the jokes are just sort of immediately quite bad. They don't really land. And there's stuff where you're expecting there to be sight gags in the background, but there aren't, at least I didn't spot them. So it feels like a different thing. But then once it gets past that opening, it then settles into more of the procedural kind of piss take, and then it worked better from there on.
Is the opening what I remember from the trailer where he goes into a bank dressed as a little girl?
Yes.
I don't know if that was just like a special thing. Okay, right. Okay, that's the opening, right?
Yeah. And so then at the end of that, obviously the originals were absurd, but the fact that he goes in and he's a little girl and he pulls the mask off and then he's a 6-foot+ man is like, maybe because I saw it 5 times or whatever in the trailers that I didn't find it funny, and it sort of felt like such a breach of reality that it was hard to then get a handle on. But I think maybe it's just priming you for not, you just don't think about anything.
Yeah, I suppose that is moving past the laser focused realism of the prequel trilogy, doesn't it? Where I can see why that upset you.
Yeah. If it's funny, I don't really care, but there's stuff in this, like there's a bit like where he's fighting a guy and then he karate chops his arms off and then hitting the guy with his own arms, and it's just sort of like, I don't know, it's not funny, and it's kind of, yeah, I don't know. As I'm saying out loud, I could imagine that being in the original. Now I say it out loud, but it doesn't play like that on the screen. But it does. I did get into it as it went along. Like there are lots and lots of jokes. Many of them don't work, but then there's the odd ones where you think that's a good gag, and you think, how has that not been done in something before? Like even just simple things like where he invites Pamela Anderson into his office and says, "Take a seat," and she says, "No, I've got plenty at home." And you're like, "Yeah, that's a decent gag."
Yeah.
You know? And you think why did that not feature in the originals? It's that sort of thing. And at the end of it, she's just then said, "I've changed my mind," and walks out with one of the chairs. And there's sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying, it's 85 minutes, which is a good sign. What's Pamela Anderson like in this film?
She's really good because she's playing like a sort of icy sort of femme fatale who then sort of falls for him. There is like, again, it doesn't fit in the world. This sequence didn't feel like Naked Gun to me, but then again, the original did have absurd dream sequences, but there's like a sequence where they are falling in love and then move to a log cabin in the mountains, and then they make a snowman together, but then the snowman comes to life and starts trying to murder them, and it takes a weirdly dark kind of horror movie turn. And I was like, okay, at least it's original and kind of funny. So it had its moments, and it has got like the voiceover and so there was enough of the original in there and enough like inventive weird stuff that I was laughing. But I honestly am straining to remember it now.
That's fine, as long as you laugh. How many times would you say you laughed, ever, since you've been born?
That was one then. It's about 7 in total, I think.
That brings my total up to 7. I noticed that Danny Huston plays a bad guy in this. Is that like a stretch for him, or?
Yeah, he's definitely out of his comfort zone, playing a very generic, rich bad guy.
Oh dear. The last time I saw him was in 30 Days of Night, which I enjoyed. But that's it. I thought that when I saw the trailer, I thought this was just not going to be. I mean, I don't mind the Naked Gun films, but they're not. I don't hold them as dear as a lot of people do. So I was kind of even further removed from this. But I do treasure comedies that kind of at least are amusing. So I might actually watch this. From what you said,
and it's so short. Like, just watch it with a glass of wine, and you'll probably laugh a handful of times, and then it's short and sweet.
If I watched it with a glass of fair trade Malbec from Co-op for £5.85, reduced from £6.50, nothing would make me laugh. That's the glass I'm staring at now, hoping it evaporates before I get to it. Have you seen this one, Rupert?
No, I haven't had a reason to yet.
We're not. This podcast, we're not drawn to comedies, are we? Really?
Well, it's because we've been disappointed so many times because they're not funny. But
that is a problem.
It's all downhill
if I can,
from
Dumb and Dumber. Laugh like 5 times in an 85-minute movie. I'm all right. I'm down with that.
Yeah,
and I do like the idea of a properly, like absurdist, irreverent film, which doesn't even try to be earnest at all.
I was on this very topic, actually. For some reason, on the algorithm saw fit to sort of start sending me things like links to outtakes of Anchorman, and I was like, oh yeah, I do remember some of these are like quite funny. The outtakes are amusing, and I thought, maybe I should. I can't remember if I saw the sequel, and then I remembered that the sequel was completely ad-libbed, and I thought, oh no, because that would really wind me up. So I need to find. I'm in the mood for a comedy, but I just... The thing is, the last time I watched a film and I thoroughly enjoyed it on its own merit was that Murder in the House of Death with Kenny Everett. And that was because I had no preconceptions and it was just balmy and like really English. So I feel like I need to be surprised by a comedy, really.
Wasn't that made like 40 years ago as well?
Yes. It was made in 1985, yes. But I watched it I watched it like within the last 6 months.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it when I was 2, and then never laughed since.
That's the last.
Sick of my mum. Oh, Mummy, can you super glue my mouth shut? Because I think that's me done now. Peaking with Kenny Everett. So, Rupert, what have you got up your sleeve, babe?
I watched 4 horror films.
Good.
The last couple of weeks. A couple of them are screeners, so I'll start with a screener. Called Dolly, and this is written and directed by Rod Blackhurst, based on his short film Baby Girl. It's an ultra-violent horror in the vein.
It's a creepy poster as well.
It's in the vein of Terrifier. So, right up Laszlo's alley. And so basically, a couple go on a retreat into some remote woods. They find a bunch of creepy dolls nailed to the trees. And then they are quickly set upon by a maniac in a doll mask who is dressed like kind of Mrs. Santa Claus. And the woman is kidnapped. The man's mortally wounded. The woman is kidnapped and held captive by this madman, Dolly, who intends to raise her like a toddler. So Dolly is played by someone called Maxi Impaler. I don't know if it's a wrestler, maybe. He's played very much like Art the Clown, with no words and very theatrical reactions. But crucially, you can't see his face, so you kind of lose some of those grotesque expressions that Art the Clown does. And he's a little different to Art because, Art the Clown revels in his like brutality, whereas Dolly seems quite tormented by them. Sean William Scott plays the boyfriend in this, by the way, and
didn't expect that.
No, he plays it very straight, and actually, to be honest, he spends about 75% of the film with a snap leg and his lower jaw hanging off. So, and some quite cool makeup in that. So that's a bit of fun.
Can
there.
he still talk like with his jaw hanging
really
off?
Can kind of make guttural sounds, but not much else.
You've got to respect him for taking a role that's going to require him to have heavy prosthetics, and he doesn't get to speak.
He has a rough time, because the guy just sticks a spade into his jaw and stamps on it. Anyway, how lovely. Do it. Definitely do it. It is a slasher, and it is stacked with cliches because, just people wandering off on their own. You got the aforementioned creepy dolls. You got the masked madman with mummy issues, and you've even got someone behind a wall trying to explain to a woman that it's a game and explaining the rules of the game. And then you've got a bad guy who always seems to catch up with the victim, even though the victim's running and the bad guy's walking. Oh, and then there's, of course, a scene where they knock out the bad guy. And then instead of finishing them off or running away, just drop your weapon to check they're really dead.
Oh, yeah.
It's what you do. The writing isn't great. The characters don't really act like people. They act like actors playing into a horror scenario. Like when the boyfriend first meets Dolly in the woods, and this is someone who's dressed like Santa Claus, covered in blood, surrounded by dolls, rocking and mumbling to himself in the middle of the woods. Instead of trying to get Dolly's attention from distance, he just goes over to her and rests a hand on Dolly's shoulder to make her turn around and reveal his creepy face. Or when the woman sneaks away from Dolly while Dolly is sleeping and she's creeping around the house with a torch just to maximize attention and going really slowly around the place, sneaking around. And you'd just be you're thinking, just get out. Why aren't you just you'd be really quick and efficient just to get out of the house. But no, got to maximize that horror tension. Or there's a scene where the boyfriend manages to crawl to the house and cries out to her. And the woman leaps through a first floor window and runs to him with Dolly in pursuit. And then she goes over to her boyfriend and just starts having this emotional reunion with him, saying how I found the engagement ring in your pocket and stuff.
What the fuck? As she's being chased.
And as she's being chased by this maniac who's been trying to turn her into a adult toddler. So there's a lot of scenes like that, and you're and I think it gets to the heart of when people get frustrated with characters doing so-called dumb things in horror movies, it's rather than characters acting in a relatable way, the characters are acting in the service of the film elements, They're acting for the sake of atmosphere or tension or the violence, and because of that it's not relatable, so it's hard to empathize. We're making it hard to care, which undermines the stakes, and then it nullifies the sense of threat, so it's not scary anymore because you're well, you kind of deserve it.
You're too busy thinking, what are you doing?
What do you do? So it's technically quite a well-made film in terms of lighting and framing and editing, but it's just too derivative to be scary. And it has the violence of something like Terrifier, but it doesn't have that crucial layer of ironic humor. So it just
that's what I was going to ask. Okay.
It comes across as a bit sadistic and bland. So overall, it's pretty ordinary, well-made, but ordinary and not very well written.
as you were eating a bowl of like sort of warm mashed corned beef with ketchup, did it put you off that eating it, or when you're watching it, were you okay?
It wasn't too bad, to be fair. Well, yeah, but again, after Terrify, it's like, well, anything goes, really, isn't it? But it's still not. I wouldn't say it's still not like torture porn, like back in the day. Yeah. So, because I think the difference is that in torture porn, she would be captured and there'd be extended scenes of just brutal, like, punishment until like the last 10 minutes when she finally gets her own back. Whereas in this is a bit more to and fro, kind of sneaking around the house type stuff. And what's his name? Ethan Suplee is in it as well. Remember him?
Oh, yeah. He lost a lot of weight, didn't he?
Yeah. Like he's super buff now. He gets, it's more like a cameo really, but yeah, it's just quite cool to see him just be like an enormous, scary presence rather than kind of a bumbling fat person.
Sorry, I've just Googled him to remind myself who he was. There's like a picture of him it's the first one that comes up on Google, and he's got his arms up in the muscle pose, but his nipples have sort of fallen off his pecs. It's quite weird.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, they're like slightly lower.
Yeah.
That's probably because he used to weigh half a ton, and he's got some adipose tissue, I would guess.
He's done well, though, hasn't he? Yeah, he's
a
big lad.
I went to school with half a ton.
Subject. I was just going to say, on the subject of horror films and food, they're doing, I don't know if it's a chain, there's a donut restaurant near our office where they're doing Scream mask-shaped donuts with like the Scream mask painted on the top.
Good.
That's cool.
My colleague had one. I was like, oh, that's cool. And it's like, is it jam so you can stab it in it? And they're like, no, it's just a normal donut. You missed the trick there.
It was a real missed trick.
Is it one of those that thing called like Wow Donuts or whatever? I'm not a donut fan anyway, and I find pastries really boring because it's basically like the jam is the most important part of it, and the rest is just, as far as I'm concerned, really boring sweet bread. So who cult? And Faye bought a box. They were really expensive, and I just said, I think I will never be excited about a donut because if this is what the best they got to offer, then it's still nothing compared to a sausage roll, quite frankly. Which I admit is a different food type. I'm trying to think of a Victoria sponge then. A slice of Victoria sponge, it trumps everything. I'm going to do I'll carry on with the horror theme then. I'll talk about, it was Friday the 13th last week, the week before, and I said to Phil, look, let's watch a Friday the 13th film. I've seen the first and second ones a few times, so and Jason X and blah blah blah. So let's get one of the middle ones. Let's make a start with, I don't know, Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. And I didn't realize it, but I've accidentally chosen the worst film in the entire series. And
it starts the karate kicking guy.
I don't think
so. Is it the one with him filming it on? Oh, you go on. I'll remember it as soon as you start describing it.
So it starts off with teenage Tommy Jarvis. Of course, I don't know what Tommy Jarvis means to the franchise because I just left in the fifth one. So all I could see, I was like, oh, look, there's Corey Feldman hiding in the bush watching two people dig up a grave. And then Jason gets out the grave. Corey Feldman screams as Jason walks over to him. And then it just cuts to a bloke in his late 70s who's supposed to be him 5 years later. I say late 70s. He's like in his late 20s. And it says 5 years later. And I thought, what's a different man that is? It actually looks like the killer from Night Moves with Christopher Lambert. And he's in sort of a halfway house kind of thing where it's with a load of youths who have been sort of released from, I guess, mental health facilities, and they're sort of all living together in this sort of rural estate. And he's just Tommy Jarvis is just really quiet and reserved. And there's the guy who goes around constantly eating, who's kind of quite adolescently minded. There's a couple of giggling girls, and there's a really surly guy who, and this is when I thought, I don't think the script is going to be up to par in this film. He is an angry, really buff man with like real rage issues. So obviously what they've done is they've given him the task of chopping wood with a massive axe as like the sort of child-minded chubby guy who's constantly eating chocolate comes out and basically just harangues him until he snaps and just kills him with the axe. And I thought you probably could have seen that come in, really. So then some paramedics come up and take the body away, and soon after, Jason Voorhees turns up and starts taking people down. And it's got the usual sort of tropes from the series. You've got, people bonking and then getting killed and all this sort of stuff. But it is so thuddingly boring. And the kills are so just sort of benign. He just turns up and just kills them. There's very little like chases. Turns up and they scream, "Oh, dead." That's it. Next one. And it's so, every character is either just so irritating or bland that it was just, there was just nothing to it. And I have to be fair that I fast forward. I got to the point and I thought, this is a waste of my time. And I fast forwarded it. And am I allowed to give out spoilers here?
I think so.
I think so. This is from like 1985. It turns out that the killer isn't even Jason Voorhees. It cuts back, and it turns out it's one of the paramedics who picked up the kid at the start, the chubby kid who got killed. But I thought, hang on, I remember that because just after he gets killed, and one of the paramedics looks at the body, the guy who runs the camp says, "Oh yeah, whatever his name was, Joey or whatever." They said, "Oh, Joey, his mother was a drug addict, and his dad was just took off, and he didn't know who he was." Just some sort of has-been sort of thing. It's a real shame. And the guy he's talking to is this kid's father. But I thought, if you've been absent from his life for 20 years, you come back, you see that he's dead, you realize it's yourself. How would that turn you into a killer? You just think like, "Oh, I've been a really bad father here. This is a really you wouldn't. There's no sort of ironic twist there. It's just lazy. So the fact that it wasn't even Jason Voorhees that I was being bored by for 80 minutes sort of was like a twist of the knife. And I thought, yes, I don't think I'll ever be watching this ever again. So never, ever watch Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning.
Yeah. I don't think I have seen that one. I think I was thinking of Halloween, the one with the cameras and Busta Rhymes.
That's Halloween Resurrection, isn't it? Yeah. Where they have the cameras in the house. That was very good, Rupert.
That wasn't very good either, was it?
That's one of my favorite. This is one for the old school listeners. That you reviewing that film when you did the Halloween ended with one of my favorite quotes from you. It's so at the end of the film, Busta Rhymes tried to take down Michael Myers by making racist noises, and that really tickled me. I should be on a T-shirt. That'd be an awkward one to wear to work. This is just a terrible film.
Okay.
There is a whole gap in my film watching history. Like I've never watched a single Nightmare on Elm Street film, and I'm not sure if I may have seen 2 or so of the Halloween or Friday 13th films, if any. Actually, no, Friday the 13th, I don't think I've seen any. Halloween, a couple.
The thing is, what you could do is if you wanted to watch a few, you could make some suggestions. You can quite easily watch 3 good ones out of the 12 or 13 or whatever. Like with each of those sort of horror, what are they called? Patriarchs of the genre sort of thing. You could watch between 2 and 4 films in each series and think, actually, I can keep up with the story, and I enjoyed that. But there's so many extraneous movies.
Yeah. I've always been tempted by Dream Warriors, just because that sound quite high concept-y and
that's sort of the one that take on those drugs to stay awake, isn't it? That one. That's the third one. Yeah,
it's definitely that's most Stranger Thingsy. I'd say.
And he's a nice soft horror.
Yeah, Halloween has had a rough ride though. I mean, other than the first one.
Yeah, I've seen the first one.
I like David Gordon Green's trilogy later on, but it's a different thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So between 1978 and 2018, there were no good Halloween films.
H2O, I suppose.
Yeah, I saw that.
H2O was that was fine. Yeah.
This got Josh Hartnett in it, constantly licking his finger and trying to put down the hair at the back of his head as he runs away from old Mikey Boy. Yeah. But either way, I take off my shoe, pull out a frog, name it, and pass it to Laszlo.
I named this frog Eisenheim the Illusionist.
Oh, nice. Eisenheim, yeah. I like that.
In honor of the illusionist directed by Neil Berger, that came out in 2006, and I watched it.
Oh, nice.
Bit out of the blue. This one, it came up. Somebody was talking about it at work, and I don't know why, and I couldn't remember if I'd seen it or not. And having watched it now, I'm still not sure if I'd seen it before or not. It's that forgettable.
It's Van Helsing, right? Yeah, I'm with you.
So yeah, I mean, there were familiar bits, but I don't. I watched The Prestige, which came out at about the same time as this, and I love that film. So this was always going to have a rough ride, but it's nicely put together. I suppose it's nicely shot. Edward Norton is fine as like the illusionist, and then Jessica Biel has a completely thankless role as his childhood love interest. And then Rufus Sewell plays an evil prince, and Paul Giamatti plays a police inspector who's kind of investigating Edward Norton's character. So it's a good cast. And it's got a Philip Glass score, which is really cool.
Nice.
But it's a very sort of simple, traditional kind of approach to this compared to The Prestige, which is much more complicated and interesting, I would say. The illusions in this are like so ludicrous, and they're not remotely explained or explainable, like especially given the technology that he has at the time.
So is this got the sort of Now You See Me problem where there's no fun in the tricks because you think, well, this is just CG, so there's no fun here?
Yeah, it's like his illusions are largely based around apparitions, sort of thing. So he can make, which comes into the plot later on, that he claims to be bringing somebody back from the dead who was murdered as a ghost, and then that ghost is naming who killed them. And you're not sure if the person, you're not meant to be sure if the person is really dead and this is a trick, or whether he's really capable of doing this. And there's bits like where a kid who's an apparition is walking through the audience, and somebody tries to touch the child, and he looks completely solid and real, but his hand goes through, and you just sit there and go, that's not even possible now, like on any level. So this has just become bollocks.
Supernatural.
Well, yes, but I find it annoying that it just sits on the fence. It sort of it offers up flimsy explanations for certain things that he's doing, but then other things you just have to go, well, I guess that's magic. But why doesn't he just, if he can do magic, he doesn't need to do the tricks? So yes. I don't know. And there is that aforementioned death happens about halfway through, and it happens off screen, and you're thinking, well, and he's a master of illusion. It never convinces for a second that they're actually dead, and yet the whole second half of the film relies on you believing that death took place. But you're sitting there going, but it didn't, did it? But we know it didn't, and so it's all kind of dramatically inert, really. But you know, it's like I say, it's well put together, and the actors in it are decent. So yeah, it's kind of like a clever film if you're stupid, which I am. So, you know, it's not entirely not for me, but just watch The Prestige because it's just better in pretty much every way.
I remember this coming out at the same time as The Prestige, and I actually, when you started talking The Illusionist, I haven't seen either film since they were out, and I thought you were going to talk about The Prestige, and then when I looked at it, I thought, oh, I've seen this, but yeah, I remember nothing about it apart from Edward Norton's facial hair. Before we carry on and get like Rupert's retort, can you do me a favour? About halfway down on Wikipedia, just need you to help me solve a bit of a quandary. It says the music is by Philip Glass, right? So if you click on Philip Glass on Wikipedia, tell me when you've done that.
Okay.
And feel free to play along at home, kids, as well.
Yeah.
Right. So you're looking at Philip Glass Wikipedia. He's got his glasses on, picture on it. Right? So scroll down past the picture
Philip
of a woman in a
glasses.
chair. Scroll down to the picture of him on a subway station, right?
Yes.
Click on that and maximize it, and tell me why I'm looking at a picture of Ralph Little. I don't understand how that links to Philip Glass, but either way,
Weird.
yeah, that film was it was forgettable at the time, and I would have 2006, so I would have been like, early 20s.
Really forgotten it by now.
Yeah, I just remember his facial hair, and the fact that the Prestige was the one that was more sort of like Laszlo said, brain churning and interesting. So yeah, and I'm very much put off by films where it's about magic and trickery, and it's not even explained in a crap way, or like through magic, it's just not explained, because it's just, I just feel like, well, this is just a massive cop out, then, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not great. But the music is good. I have listened to the soundtrack a couple of times since. So,
well, it's Philip Glass, isn't it? It's Ralph Little.
Yeah.
What do you want, babe?
Yeah. I mean, it's Philip Glass, so it sounds like all other Philip Glass things, but
Right.
it's a great trick. So why not repeat?
Where is this available?
On Now TV in the UK.
Right now. I was going to review Bonekeeper, which is another screener, but there's a review embargo.
Oh.
Till 23rd of March. It's out on the 6th of April.
Break it.
I will say it's making its debut at Glasgow Fright Fest on the 6th of March, and there's a Q&A afterwards. And I will just say they do indeed have questions to answer for this one. So let's move on.
I look forward to the review of that in the next episode.
Yeah,
I like you've very carefully skirted around any actionable comment
exactly
there in a very enjoyable way.
I'd love to be watching like the sort of press sort of junket for that, where they say, "Oh, we've got any questions in the room?" And you stand up and say, take the microphone and say, "Yeah, it's Rupert, Kino Kingdom. I just my question is, yeah."
It must be awkward though, mustn't it? Because presumably they're contractually obliged in some way to do Q&As and, press stuff after the event. I'm just saying, if, for example, a film is bad, I'm not saying this one's bad, I'm not making any judgment about it, but if it were a bad film and then you had to go and do Q&A sessions after a screening, you'd be thinking, oh my God, what? Well, we're going to have to prepare some answers here.
Yeah.
Prepare some
excuses. Oftentimes people are not aware that it's bad. They have like an attachment to it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you read the reviews and go, oh, okay, shit, I thought it was all right.
Really?
I got a question on that, Laszlo, of someone who works, sort of in this shadowy industry. What, like, for example, Rupert was talking about Dolly earlier on, and with that scene where she's being chased by a killer and she stops to have a full conversation with someone, which is something I don't think I've ever seen in a film before, where they're being chased by a killer. Anyway, is all the people on set? Does no one say that like that wouldn't happen? That wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is where, like, if you've got a budget and it's a studio film, then the studio will usually swoop in on any, creative who's maybe lost their way on certain decisions and say you need to change that. So often studio notes can be positive things because it's like an outsider's perspective,
right? And
they can help make things potentially more audience friendly. But yeah, I mean, that sounds like something that probably, if he's a writer director, he's in a bit of an echo chamber, and if he's a very charismatic and persuasive person, then people will just put faith in that it'll work, kind of thing. I mean, normally an editor would sit there and say, right, this scene is shit. It's it's breaking the momentum and then it's up to him to make a good enough case for the director to concede.
Okay, it's interesting. I'd like to be in those conversations, because there's so many times you watch a film and it's such. I mean, obviously they do it, the daily rushes, and they wouldn't know till it's pieced together. But you would think there are so many fundamental flaws, especially in horror films, where the tension just drops or things just don't make sense. You think surely at the time people would have thought this, because with horror films especially, if you lose the audience's trust, it's quite hard to regain it, because a horror film is there to do one thing, isn't it? It's like a comedy that's not funny. It's a fail. or if a horror film isn't sort of scary or thrilling or terrifying or whatever kind of format the horror takes, whether it's like sort of cold dread, then it's failed. So it's you just think these things will be picked up before I have to fucking sit something.
Yeah, I mean, a producer as well should really be a sort of a third guiding hand on these things, but you do get situations where like the writer director also is the editor and is best mates with the producer, and the producer lets him do whatever he wants to do, and sometimes these things just slide all the way through, and it takes until Rupert watches it and writes about it for them to go, oh, actually maybe it was shit.
If it is or not, we don't know yet. We don't know. But so what? We've spent 10 minutes talking about a film you didn't talk about.
Let's talk about a film I did watch.
Yes,
I watched An American Werewolf in London because I got
it's not under embargo.
For Christmas. And this is a movie about, it starts with a pair of American backpackers wandering the Yorkshire moors when they're attacked by, a fucking werewolf, really, isn't it? One of them is killed. The other is saved by some locals and taken to a hospital 150 miles away. And then in London, and he meets a hot nurse and they spark up a relationship. However, he has been bitten by a lycanthrope, so he will transform when the moon is full. And in the meantime, his friend returns from the dead to warn him of this and insists that he kills himself. I'd rather not do this, but there is a full moon on the rise. So John Landis, kind of seminal comedy horror. The Yorkshire scenes were filmed in Builth Wells, by the way. I didn't realise that.
Oh, really?
So there are elements of this film that work really well, like the romance in the middle. It's pretty convincing. It's good. They got good chemistry. Jenny Agutter is the lady, and
she is pretty.
Yes, I always kind of wondered why she fancies him so much.
She just takes him takes him home. And, yeah.
But I think it's meant to be like a kind of pure animal attraction. I think it's more of a lust story actually than a love story. But there are many illogicalities in this film. Not just the geography of events. Just like I never understood why are the Yorkshiremen so against the idea of like telling the truth about this animal. I didn't quite pick up on that. Never have. The doctor driving from London to Yorkshire to have a 5-minute conversation with the punters of this pub. You'd think he'd be a bit busy for that sort of thing, but anyway. The script is...
Hang on, I got to say, because I know we have a hello to the Americans that listen to us. So if that's like, if you imagine, if you were bitten by a werewolf and you're bleeding out, and then an ambulance said, right, we're going to do a 4.5-hour drive now to get you, and then the same back. So it's a 9-hour round trip. So I hope you've got some sandwiches and a drink. It's a 4-hour, 15-minute drive. That would be you. I'm sure there's a hot.
I was going to say it's because the werewolf bites unit is the only one there is in London, so they have to take him there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. No mobile phones as well. So anyway, carry on.
No, and also when you think about where they are, because it's not just like bitten in Yorkshire. He is in the middle of the wilderness at this point, so it's not. So they have to send like a Range Rover from London as well. Anyway, the script. It's a little bit first drafty, I find, the script to this. Like, some lines just don't quite land, and there's some repetition. Like, the whole dead friend thing, he basically just keeps visiting him and making the same point over and over again, really. I think it's just really an excuse for really cool makeup.
I was going to say the fact that he gets more and more decrepit is what the joke is, really, for me. That's what,
and there are some really iconic scenes, like the transformation scene, obviously, is still impressive, and it's just really agonizing. It's horrendous. And I love the London Underground scene, classic horror setup. And in fact, the film generally captures a kind of nightmare London at a particular place in time, like quite a scuzzy time of just massive unemployment and austerity. So that's kind of cool. I actually think the dramatic elements are a bit more effective than the comedy elements. Oh, they've definitely dated less anyway, because it's sort of a tragedy really at the heart of the story. It's like a love story in the vein of The Fly. More on that later, which was released a few years later. But it's also about this culture clash of this very like loose, wisecracking American thrown into a stuffy British environment. And I've got to say, to John Landis's credit, he doesn't go down the route of just lazy fish out of water comedy all the time. So that's good. Michael Jackson loved this film, obviously. Enough to offer John Landis and Rick Baker the gig on Thriller a couple of years later. In between those dates, there was, of course, the involuntary manslaughter case that obviously didn't put off Michael Jackson, but there you go. I don't quite love American Werewolf in London, but I do find it very endearing because it's sort of scrappy and handcrafted, which I like. And it balances its tonal shifts so well. You just wonder why so many films struggle to do the same. The balancing of the comedy and the horror is pretty well done. It does nail it. So it's imperfect, but always rewatchable, if only for Rick Mail.
Was it a really satisfying ending, or is it not? I can't
remember. A little bit rushed and inconclusive. Yeah. It's okay, though. It's quite impressive because they do genuinely... Where is it? It's like Trafalgar Square, isn't it? And they're like get a proper double-decker bus to go skidding around the place. It's quite well crafted by the sequence, but it is a bit like... It is a bit like, oh, we've run out of ideas. They literally run into a dead end.
Run out of money. Yes. Let's just shoot him in an alleyway by some beans.
Yeah, not even with silver bullets, isn't it? They just shoot him with paint guns. That's what the American listeners, again, that's what the British police had. When you were like a constable, they give you like a gun made out of paper, so you could only scare criminals if you like shone a torch behind it round a corner in silhouette. And they're like, oh, he's got a gun, look, I can see the light. Then they give you a wooden gun, and then they give you paint guns. And I think firearms were introduced in the 1990s over here then.
Mm-hmm. Were those the ones that fired bits of potato?
Yeah, or like just a flag that said bang at the end of it, yeah.
You're under arrest.
Yeah, and some of them would just like light us so they could just like light their fags, but the criminals thought they had guns. I watched. Sorry.
Before we move on, can I just ask if either of you watched American Werewolf in Paris? Is it the second one?
1997 at its finest. I watched it when I worked in the video shop. And I remember even then thinking this isn't very good when I was like 16 or 17, and I've never felt the need to revisit it. I got a feeling, and and I think obviously it just shows my taste even as like a teenager. I've got a feeling that they were CG werewolves, and this is the year of Spawn, so we know what to expect. PS1 cutscenes by Prism Leisure Software, so. Yeah, I remember watching it and being really disappointed, even as like a 14-year-old. So I don't think I would go back. And that was that period as well, wasn't it? And although it's set in Paris, 1997 was the tail end of when sort of straight to DVD stuff started to get a bit warehousey and CG, so there was no charm to it anymore.
Was it also filmed in Bulleth Wells?
If only.
It's doubling for Paris.
If only it was filmed at Llan 10. That's the most dangerous toilet in Wales. Is in Llan 10, by the way. I remember going up there. It's one of those places where it's just like a tea shop and a graveyard and a pub. And I went at this toilet, and as I went in there, I said, "Oh, where's the toilet?" Sorry, in this really rural pub where it's just a load of drunk farmers, and the fuck is fucking full of tractors. You know they're just going to drive home after 16 pints of the wizard's tit. And I went into the toilet, and then she said, "Oh, the lights are off in the toilet, love." I was like, "Oh, no problem." She said, "You could be careful." And I was like, "That's fine." And this is before the days of like lights on your phone, because I was like in my early 20s. And I went at this toilet. Apologies if I've told this story before. And I went in, I thought, oh my God, it's so fucking cold in this toilet. It's biting cold. And I could hear... And a guy came in, a local, who had a torch, because he obviously knew the lights had been off for ages. He went, "Careful, boy," turned on his torch. There was just a drop. The it was on like a ledge, and a part of the sort of, it was one of those old Victorian urinals that goes like sort of to the floor, and it had crumbled away. And like, if I'd taken a few steps to my left, I would have half fallen out of the pub and down like a ravine. And I just thought, this is the most dangerous toilet I've ever been in. And it also didn't have, I remember I had a pee and like to wash my, it was so cold. I'm surprised I even tried to go to the cold water tap. I went to dry my hands and it wasn't like a toilet roll or a hand dryer, because this is like 20 years ago. It was a really stiff orange towel laid across a radiator. And I thought, I'm not touching that because I don't want to get pregnant. So, yeah. Found one of the most dangerous pub in Wales.
An American Whale from London is available for free with ads on Rakuten, the worst streaming service.
I wish I was wearing that T-shirt right now.
Yeah, you should have recorded that. Sounded like a sponsored segment.
Rakuten, the worst streaming service.
When it hits the advert, does it start again from the beginning of the film, like it did when I tried Rakuten once?
Well, thankfully, I watched this on a good remastered piece of physical media, so I was absolutely fine.
Okay.
Although, we talk about Rakuten. I used, I think it's called indie.tv for one of the screeners, and that was no picnic, I'll tell you that. That was pretty rough. That did not retain my place when I locked my phone. And it randomly, the search bar would just not appear at the bottom of the video. So I actually thought I was going to have to go back through it, the entire thing.
Stop it! I can only get so hard. God, these
it's almost
problems.
As bad as that WWE one you had.
Oh yeah, where it goes back to the start of a 4-hour show and changes the language randomly. Yes. Like an old man, rubbing a lamp when we talk about things like this. Like, oh my God, how could things possibly get better? I watched a film that's been on the cusp of my interest since 2000. It was released, and it's called Ready to Rumble. Actually, did we just mention a wrestler in another film? Yeah, Max the Impaler. There's a theme in this episode. There aren't many films based on the sort of sport of wrestling, and the last one I watched, I don't know if you remember this, guys, was Paradise Alley, that Faye bought excitedly because she said, "Oh, it's Sylvester Stallone, I love, and it's a wrestling film that you like wrestling, so let me buy this." And she watched it once and said, "Oh dear, what a waste of £10 that was! It's a lot of crap. It's probably one of his worst films." Anyway, Ready to Rumble was. I know you two don't know much about wrestling, but just for the few people, well, actually, a lot of Americans listen to this podcast, so they'll be with me. They'll be rubbing their hands together with glee right now. It says it's set in the dying days of 2000 WCW, and David Arquette and Scott Kahn star in this. Scott Kahn is a handsome man, and although his jaw never seems to have stopped growing, so now it's becoming a problem. David Arquette at the time, bear in mind WCW were like rivals with WWF at the time, and they made, as part of the promotion for this film, they made him their world champion, which just pissed off and alienated a lot more fans, obviously. So this film is packed with WCW wrestlers, like names even you guys will know, like Sting, Goldberg, Diamond Dallas Page, Macho Man Randy Savage. And I thought, oh my God, I totally forgot about that film. And I wonder if it's going to be silly fun with a lot of wrestlers who are sadly no longer with us anymore, basically. And I watched it, and it is a 1-star review from me on Letterboxd, let me tell you, because the whole plot is that Oliver Platt, obviously, is Jimmy King, who's their favorite wrestler. And he gets... It's a really weird thing, because obviously wrestling is scripted and already set out, like a choreographed dance, if you will. But this film walks between... people and characters in the film, including Joe Pantoliano with a very unconvincing syrup, openly talking about that everything is scripted and pre-planned. But then it kind of, half the film relies on it just not being that. So it even fails in its own sort of logic. And it's not for comedy reasons. It's just uneven. So Joe Pantoliano is a sort of shyster who says he's made Jimmy King, he'd be nothing without him. And then he turns on him, cheats him out of the title, and he turns to alcoholism and blah, 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 goes back to being trailer trash. And David Arquette and Scott Caan are huge fans who, and toilet cleaners effectively, who believe that they can sort of get him back to the top. But the whole film is just really like wince-inducing comedy of like basically them cleaning toilets and shoving their fingers up their arse and stuff with a load of like badly edited wrestling with just a load of cameos, and the cameos are kind of the most fun part. The only part of the film that actually made me laugh was there's a scene where they've just cleaned like these sort of effectively like festival toilet cubicles, and they're eating these like burgers, and David Arquette is constantly like getting food all over himself when he eats. And he's eating this burger, it's really messy, all over his like his face and his hands and stuff, and he's like wiping his mouth and smudging it across his face and his shirt. And they sat on the back of, one of those sort of, it looks like a gas truck, but like a sewage truck. And there's like a brown pipe behind them, like leaking between them, like really close to the food they're holding. And there's this horrible, thick, brown, shitty drip. And they're like talking, like, oh yeah, and the food's going everywhere. And it's like dripping like right between where they're eating. And it's almost going on the food. And I was thinking, oh my God, that's so buzzing. But again, it was one kind of, I say subtle. It wasn't a gag that was just like thrown in your face. And then when he's like turning, it's like dripping on his shoulder and stuff. But the rest of it is just like burners fancy them for no reason. And, making fun of like trailer park trash. Everything's the lowest common denominator. And the film just seems to go on and on and on. And then there's like no real payoff to it. And I don't know if it was done with WCW as like a I know it was a promotional thing from them, but if they really thought this would reinvigorate them, it is just a painfully bad and funny film. And the only thing I took from it is that after it, David Arquette genuinely got into wrestling and only retired from it for years ago and like took it really seriously and got hip steep, which is cool. And Scott Caan's a very handsome man. So, it was just not very bad. It's not very good at all. It's a very, very bad film, and it's not redeemable at all, apart from just as a sort of, what's the word, like a time capsule of wrestling at that moment, which was kind of interesting for a few minutes.
Did David Arquette become a wrestler?
Yeah, like he became an independent wrestler like, till he was in his late 40s. He took it really, really seriously.
He bulk
up? Yeah, he's kind of... Yeah, I think
he's got like my kind of physique. I don't know. I'm struggling.
He did bulk up and he got covered in tats and stuff, and like he looked fine and he took it really seriously. He generally developed a love for it, but the love for it just doesn't come through in this film because it's too goofy and stupid.
Is this where his love for it emerged?
I would assume so. Yeah. I would assume so.
He was married to Courtney Cox, wasn't he?
Yes.
David Arquette. I'm now just picturing him having that conversation that, like in Friends, where she's talking to Jon Favreau. About his becoming the ultimate fighting champion.
Oh, it's MMA, isn't it?
Yeah. And he's just like in plaster cast, a whole body plaster cast, and she's like, "You're going to stop now?" And he's like, "Well, am I the ultimate fighting champion yet?" Yeah. Anyway,
I tell you, who is
life imitating art.
Massively into martial arts now is Kevin James.
Really?
He's really ripped now and really strong, yeah.
Was he in a movie?
He was in the fucking King of Queens, mate. You'll notice I complimented him in that, and I also dismissed him from his TV series. What I didn't do in the last 30 seconds was ever say he was funny, which is the problem because he was in a string of comedies, wasn't he? Yeah, so that's
yes. And he was a bad guy in that film where he had a swastika on the back of his head, and he wasn't very scary in that.
Oh, was that the one with the girl, Alice or something? It was a girl's name, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dennis or something.
Yeah, what is it?
Dennis Quaid. Film Dennis Quaid.
Dennis. What's it called? It's not Mandy. What is it? Shit. There's two of them.
Andy with IE?
Yeah. Andy McDowell. As a vigilante.
A film just called like an actress's name. Laszlo, it's time for you to get on the unicorn and pull the pin out of the grenade and shout Merry Christmas at your grandparents.
It's kind of appropriate. I talk about the Wrecking Crew. So this is a new film.
Is this the film I was going to watch?
A streaming film.
Who's in this? I was going to watch this.
Momoa and Batista.
Yes. Okay. I'm intrigued about
continuing the wrestling theme.
Which is quite nice, actually.
So this is on Amazon Prime, and it's an overlong but passably entertaining action film that gets a lot of mileage out of the beautiful Hawaii scenery and the sort of meathead, likable leads have a good chemistry. Plot-wise,
it's a struggle for them to film this one. Sounds really outside their comfort zone.
Yeah. I don't know why everyone lined up to star in this.
By the way, Dave Bautista has got like a world-class collection of vintage lunchboxes. He's like a real, loves his really nerdy sort of stuff from the 60s and 70s.
Good.
So I'm in love with him.
It's not. I wouldn't have said that would be my first guess of what kind of things has he got a collection of. Fair play.
Not guns or something. Is he kind of trimmed down in this?
Yeah, I mean he's still pretty muscly, but he's definitely sort of thinner than he has been in the past. But you wouldn't fuck with him.
Is he thinner than Greg Henry's hair or not?
Yeah, he doesn't look ill or anything. He's fine.
You can't see through him.
The plot is pretty thin. It's basically like a low-level murder mystery where the estranged father of two estranged brothers, played by Momoa and Batista, gets murdered, and then they have to put their differences aside and try and track down who bumped him off in Hawaii. And Jason Momoa in this plays probably the least convincing cop I've ever seen on screen. And he wears biker leathers, has long hair, tattoos. At no point does he approach any scenario as if he's been trained in how to deal with crime other than to punch people or shoot people. And then Batista plays a Marine, so he's much more sort of rigorous and ordered, even though you'd think they would both be quite rigorous and ordered in their roles. Anyway, neither of them either seem to have to report to duty at any point. They don't even say This
has sounded brilliant so far. It's 48 hours.
Yeah. But we're not really here for the realism. And the action on the whole is pretty good. It's better when it's smaller scale. There's some good, fun, crunchy fight scenes where Jason Momoa is drunk and he's just got out of the shower and then he's just getting attacked by Yakuzas in his house and he's sort of falling over as much as they're knocking him over and stuff, which is good fun. But then there's it reminded me of Parker. Is it Parker, the Marky Mark one, where they've got a solid enough crime investigative action low-level film, and then they throw in these enormous CGI action sequences in the middle. And it's completely unnecessary. At least in this one, it feels a little more fun. I remember in Parker, I just sat there wondering how many innocent civilians got killed during this scene.
Is it really irritating, bright and clean as well? And
yes,
ultra high.
Yes.
I hate that shit. Okay.
And there's a helicopter. So basically they're on this enormously long highway, which seems to be above the level of the jungle in Hawaii. I assume it's based on a real location. But they are tearing along, and then helicopter is trying to shoot them with a gun, and there's motorbikes chasing them. Many, many civilians get shot to bits and blown up in this sequence as well, but at least it's caused by the bad guys instead of the heroes, unlike Parker. But yeah, it was so over the top, and then they just sort of, after that scene, then they just pull up into the town and carry on like that scene didn't just happen, and they don't all have to report to the police there's been a massacre on a bridge with 20 exploded cars, and it doesn't look realistic at all. The helicopter looks really CG, so it's all a bit. I don't know why they pushed it that far. They didn't need to. It feels like it's from a different film. But yeah, it's you're not really here to take this film too seriously. So it was fine. It was fun. Yeah.
Did it feel like it was?
To remember much about it.
Did it just leave itself open for a sequel, or did it actually just kind of end like, okay?
Fucking bet it does. Yeah. It literally has a tag scene, when they were like on the beach and they've wrapped it all up, and then he hears somebody gives him a report about what really happened to his mum. And you're like, okay, so the next one's about what happened to mum.
Why do they? This seems to be like a constant thing these days. Where it's just everything's like leaving out. Like you'll be able to write a sequel, and no one ever thinks, oh, because of that little scene, I want there to be a sequel. You either want to see more or you don't. It would just be better if it just ended.
Yeah, and why write yourself into a corner? Like now you're going to have to make a fucking film about their mum. Like you could just do something different.
Yeah, it doesn't really serve a function, does it? Because if you watch a film like The Wrecking Crew, and then even if you enjoyed it, like you can get to the end and it can have a definite ending without any bullshit about his mum, and you could still think to yourself, well, I like that. I hope they make a sequel. And it's not going to have any bearing on whether you watch that sequel or not if they have that scene at the end. It's not like you get to the end and there isn't that scene and you're like, well, they're not going to make a sequel now, so I'm not going to look forward to it. I'm like, what? And if they make a sequel, you're going to watch it. It doesn't make any difference if there's a stupid epilogue.
You've already watched the film, which on streaming is all you can do. So it's like it's having that tag at the end is irrelevant, really.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up. I don't know exactly how you pronounce the first name. Marina.
Yes, I'm aware of her work.
A very attractive and funny, charismatic actress. Why is she not in more things? And in this, she's criminally underused yet again, where she plays Momoa's girlfriend, and she has like a funny-ish scene at the beginning where she breaks up with him because he's a drunk bum, even though he's a policeman. And then I thought, okay, that was a little cameo. But then she comes back in later on and has a slightly more sizable part. And she's really good. She's like a perfect foil for them because they're like two meathead idiots and she's actually smart and capable. And you think she should be in the whole film. And I feel like I've seen lots of films where she, like Deadpool, criminally squandered her as well. Why does she keep turning up in things in these thankless little roles and being one of the best things in them? It's weird.
Yeah.
Get her a proper job, someone. Fire her agent.
Rupert?
That's my Morena Baccarin rant over with. We can move on.
She was good in Gotham as well. Okay. Fine. I watched The Fly as well. From 1986.
Good.
This is available on Disney+. And this one is David Cronenberg, and it came just after his like squelchy early body horror period, like Shivers and Rabid and Scanners. But I guess before his kind of transition into art house, and it's kind of his most mainstream conventional film. I think it probably is his best still. So Jeff Goldblum plays a lone scientist who has invented teleportation, basically. Cronenberg doesn't give a shit about the science. It just works. So Jeff invites Gina Davis back to his lab and they spark up a romance. And then one night she's trying to sort out some former life baggage with her ex, and Jeff gets jealous and teleports himself, except he teleports himself with a housefly. And after that, he starts slowly mutating into Brundlefly. And this is pretty gross, this movie. But it has a purpose to the grossness because we're literally watching someone fall apart before our eyes. But more importantly, his eyes. And it's quite a tragic movie, really, because it's basically he's very much in his like prime, and and he knows he's going to die, basically. And it kind of makes me think of, I'm sure there's a dissertation to be written on this, but it makes me think of the stories you hear about, like the AIDS epidemic of the 80s, like 20-year-olds saying they're not ready to die, but having no way to avoid it kind of thing, and just falling apart. And I suppose it's an exploration of what you might call like pre-grief, about someone extremely virile and hopeful coming to terms with their decline. It is it's a fantasy horror, but his response is kind of relatable, like lashing out, trying to rationalize things, and like falling into fear. And I think it's a possibly career best performance from both Gina and Jeff, who have the same hair in this film, by the way. It is voluminous. And I think, I don't know why it works so well, possibly because I guess by this point Cronenberg was an established horror maestro at this point, and he's like leaning into a different genre, possibly for the first time, I guess. Like, because often you get quite established directors kind of daring to do a horror film in a slightly embarrassed way, but he's like full on horror, moving into a different genre, kind of, I suppose, in the way that someone like Peter Jackson did as well, starting out with like really gross out horror and moving into other genres. And you can see the influences there. But there's nothing subtle about this film. It's got big gore effects and big melodramatic emotions, and it's all completely earnestly done. And it's got this sort of operatic tone and classical earnestness, which aren't really en vogue in the modern age. But yet this film doesn't seem dated somehow. The effects were created by someone called Chris Wallace, who's not mentioned as much as, the likes of Baker or Bottin or Savini. But Wallace did this, and Gremlins, and Naked Lunch, and Enemy Mine, and Return of the Jedi, and Dragon Slayer with Peter McNichol, which has got the most amazing dragon puppet you've ever seen. He did also direct The Fly 2, unfortunately, with Eric Stoltz, but I won't mention that. But yeah, so The Fly is really, really good. Still really, really good. Hasn't stopped being really, really good.
I watched... Oh, sorry.
No, please go on.
I was going to say, I watched this for the first time only a few years ago. Like, I'd seen bits of it forever, and then I thought, I've never seen it from end to end. And I did really enjoy it, but I felt like the ending was somewhat kind of like American Werewolf in London, a little bit underwhelming and a little bit quick.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Well, I like the music at the end. Yeah.
that wasn't what Laszlo said.
No, but I find it memorable. I find the ending memorable in a way. And what I mean by the music is because it's gone from, like, the score is very, like, shrieky. It's Howard Shore doing the music. It's good music. But it's, like, very shrieky and Pendereckian for a lot of it. And then by the end, it's turned into this kind of, like, sweeping melodic score. And it's shifted from horror into sort of over-the-top melodramatic tragedy, like operatic tragedy. And so I think the ending works because it's like a final confrontation, which is not about defeating the enemy. It's like the total tool. You remember her ex-boyfriend, like Stathis, his name is. He's a total dick throughout the film. And it's not like he quite redeems himself, but I don't know. It's like nothing good comes out of the end of it. It's not like you get any kind of like satisfaction from seeing a bad guy taken down. Like,
yeah,
even the person who's been a dick the whole way through turns out to be vaguely heroic, and it's like no good has come out of this at all.
Yeah,
I kind of like it in that regard.
I think like maybe it's just a modern sensibility that you apply to these things, but I wanted him to go on a bit of a rampage.
Okay.
And from my recollection, is he breaks a window and then gets shot, more or less.
Yeah, I think if he had gone on a rampage, it might undermine the tragedy a little bit. I guess because the point is he is warning her. He's saying that I am going to go bonkers unless you kill me, basically. So,
yeah,
and it's pretty gross because he does get to melt that guy's ankle by spewing on him.
That's true. That's good.
Didn't get that in American Werewolf.
There's a lot of tie-ins here with like the horror and the actors and the wrestling and stuff. Because last night I explained to my son how flies ate food, and he was frowning. He's like, yeah, I think I'll just stick with bubblegum flavoured lollies, to be honest, Dad.
Had you just watched The Fly with him at the time?
Yeah.
He was like, wanted some
I don't know how it cropped up. But I just explained how. Oh, he's asking like why, like what do flies do? And I said, well, very little really. And then I said, I just explained how buzzing they were. And I said, that's why we have to stamp on them and have sex with them so they know who's boss.
He's got to learn at some point or another.
Bloody flies! I've always hated them. Been raised by like an ancient like League of Ninjas that like just have sex and murder flies. Can I do a double if that's cool?
Sure.
I just really want to say a Minecraft movie. I chose to rewatch this again a couple of days ago because I watched it the first time as my son was getting into Minecraft. And again, it's Jason Momoa, so there's a lot of circularity here. I definitely would, don't look it up. And I kind of enjoyed it for what it was. But now that I've been watching someone play Minecraft for 3 months and like my other half is into it as well, I thought it'd be fun to watch it again, having a sort of functional knowledge of the game and its world. And it does really, really help. And I know this got like really middling reviews, but I think for Minecraft fans, I think it's cool. I think it really serves its purpose, and I enjoyed it far more the second time when I sort of got the references a bit more. So I just wanted to say that I think it's an absolutely serviceable film. And now I'm going to talk about a film that my other half enjoyed much more than I did. I watched for the second time Giallo, the film from 2009 by Dario Argento, starring my boy Adrian Brody. This have either of you seen this?
No,
don't think so.
It starts off, and the whole premise is that there's a. Bear in mind that Dario Argento kind of was part of the giallo genre, wasn't he, in the 70s? So this is it's sort of a self-referential reversion to that. And it starts off with a woman. Oh, actually, I've forgotten her name now. Sorry, it is Emmanuelle Seigner, who is also one of my other. She's in my other favorite film, The Ninth Gate, as the sort of mysterious entity in that. She's in this as well. Her sister gets killed by a taxi driver who sort of kidnaps and mutilates women, and we see him, and he's just kind of mumbling to himself, and he's really disfigured, and keeps them in this horrible warehousey place. And she goes to the police, and they say, "Oh, you need to speak to Inspector Avolfo, who is Adrian Brody." And the whole film then is them working together to try and take down Enzo Avolfi, trying to take down the serial killer that he calls Yellow, and Giallo is yellow in Italian. The film is undermined by the fact that you mentioned earlier on Jason Momoa is a really unconvincing like police detective. Mm-hmm. In this, when she sort of gets sent to Adrian Brody, he's underground in this police station in Italy, and she finds him, and he's just standing there smoking fags, looking at these horrendous pictures of mutilated women on the walls. And he's like, oh, yeah. And Adrian Brody's great in this, right? He makes smoking so sexy and so appealing that I almost paused the film to go and buy a vape. I thought, my God, he's making it so cool that it's just making me want to smoke. It's ridiculous. And he's just constantly sort of saying, yeah, they give me these cases. I've been trying to track this guy down. I'm close to getting him. I just know it. I know it. I know his modus operandi. And after a while, he's talking of this, and she's following around Italy, and they're having coffee and finding these murder victims, and the detective, his superintendent, is sort of saying, "Are you any close?" He's like, "I'm so close." And I thought, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing evidence of this, mind, instead of you just saying I'm close, smoking fags and looking at horrible pictures. And it goes on and on. And I thought, I think the film genuinely thinks that like he's getting closer in not doing anything, just by being very cinematic and enigmatic. And it started to make me laugh because everyone is like, oh, he's on the case, he's going to sort this. And we find out about his backstory. And then I thought, yes, that's all very tragic and lovely, but he's not doing anything though, is he? He's not doing anything. And it started to really amuse me. And then the film, he tracks him down, and there's a chase scene and blah, blah, blah. And it's one of those films that when you read up about it, like during or afterwards, it's kind of more interesting than the film itself in some ways, because there's a whole thing where the producers didn't pay Adrian Brody and he was going to take them to court and it was settled. And I didn't realize this because the makeup is very weird for the killer. It's like really lumpy and odd, and the voice is weird. And it turns out that Adrian Brody plays the killer as well. And and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And, that's interesting when you watch it. And there's a sequence at the end where someone, and it made me wince. Someone is, if you imagine this, they fall through, it's all set in Italy, so they fall through this, like a glass triangular rooftop, and they grab on to the sort of metal bars, which the sort of shattered glass is on either side of, and then they're like, and they cling in onto it because they're about 40 feet above ground, but then they really slowly like slip down, and the glass is like really deeply cutting their hands, and the person is going, and I think that would smart. But it's not enough to save the film, and of course it's 2009, which, as we mentioned earlier on, when we had the French extreme horror movement and torture porn, it's a little bit too luxuriating in terms of abuse towards women. And like whenever it cuts back to Yellow, when he's got all of the these women, they're either being like horrendously tortured or they're just constantly screaming. And I thought, oh, this just feels. It's just grotty and unpleasant now. It's not sort of. I didn't. It got to the point where I didn't even want them to catch him because I thought, you deserve this. You're an evil man. I was just kind of sick of the torture, and I just wanted the film to stop. It's not even. It cuts away at a lot of points, but it just gives that grotty vibe. Nice. I love Adrian Brody, and the fact he's in Italy and his smoking is honestly completely above and beyond. He's bold as brass. But when you're enjoying someone smoking fags in a film, there's a problem with the script. So it's not what I would go back to again. I thought it might be a bit of a missed gem that I misremembered, but it's just, as much as I love Adrian Brody, this isn't good.
Yeah. Okay,
and apart, really quickly, this is Dario Argento, and apart from the fact that there are a couple of scenes where people like scream and there's like a fast zoom, there's no hint that a director of any worth directed it. It just feels really pedestrian.
It's interesting, isn't it, when some directors do that? I don't know whether they're attempting to, I don't know if it's true of this film in particular, but trying to meet a sort of studio quota where they just go, right, I'll make one I'll play it safe and be nice, and maybe they'll give me more money to do another film that I actually will give a shit about. I don't know. It's odd how directors sometimes just drop all style and substance for a film and then go back.
You also wonder if some of these directors, especially from the 70s, if they were just kind of lucky, and if they do a couple of films, you're like, it's almost like a bit of a one-off, and then they try to just randomly recapture the magic, but there is no magic to recapture. They should just count themselves lucky that they had that handful of hits, sort of thing. Because it was a bit zeitgeisty, because this just felt really functional, and I didn't get the sense that there was any like craft in it at all.
Oh dear. Shall I talk about The Sicilian, which is...
Please do.
Yeah, from 1987. Directed by Michael Cimino, which we've talked about a few other times recently, and written by Mario Puzo of The Godfather fame. This is very evidently trying to recapture the magic of The Godfather, particularly the stretch of The Godfather when he goes to Sicily, where this whole film takes place. It shares a very sort of similar visual grandeur and some very, very pretty Sicilian scenery. It looks fucking hot there, I have to say. Like, I wonder what they eat. This is what I got a bit bored watching this, so this is what I started thinking about, because they're like endless dry grass, barren fields, and I was thinking, where are the cows like that are making the milk that is making the cheese they're eating? How far does like wine have to travel if they haven't got any vineyards, within 100 miles? And yeah, where did you get anything to eat? Anyway,
I take it this film doesn't go any way to answering those questions.
No, it doesn't. No, probably for the best. It's best that you just enjoy it. This is a pretty much straightforward crime story based on a real guy. I gather from having done a little reading afterwards that they completely fudged this man's actual life and political aspirations. But he's basically a person of the people who rises up from like poverty to try and rob and murder people, but with the aim being to obtain wealth, to like a Robin Hood kind of thing. Have a guess.
I was going to say, I don't know if I'm good, generally for because I've never seen any of the Godfather films, and I'm seeing a few words bandied around in this Wikipedia article I'm watching. When you say it's a rip-off, this looks like it's some sort of direct follow-up or prequel to The Godfather, is it?
I don't know about the book. This is definitely not. It's by the same author, but I was hoping you wouldn't look this up because this was going to be part of the fun.
Oh, sorry.
Having a guess who plays the titular Sicilian.
Oh, okay. Is it going to be someone who's
I'm
not
guessing
Sicilian?
No, I'm looking at the book, so I don't know.
Okay, you can play this game. Have a guess.
Sicilian.
Who to you captures the DNA of Sicily and the sort of origins of the mafia in the dusty fields of Sicily?
For some reason, I was thinking about Thursday, that film with Thomas Jane. Who was the guy in that went on to? He had slipped back. He was Two-Face in the Batman films with Christopher Nolan. What's his name? Really good-looking guy.
Aaron Eckhart.
Yeah, I'm thinking Aaron Eckhart.
Ah,
well, even less Sicilian.
Yes, it's Christopher Lambert.
Yeah, but he's a man of 1,000 accents, so at least he's got the Italian down.
Yeah.
At any point in this film, does he go?
He does, and he never stops frowning. All of his greatest assets are on display.
Yeah, good.
He cannot shake the accent. I don't think he even tries to do an Italian accent. He's clearly got bright blue eyes, pale skin, but never mind. And they've also cast Joss Ackland as like the Sicilian mafia boss, and Terence Stamp is another Sicilian. Thankfully, John Turturro is in this, who does have some Sicilian heritage.
Joss Ackland is a Sicilian.
Yep.
So Joss Ackland, who is an English actor, who was South African in Lethal Weapon 2, and he's been around the world, that man, hasn't he?
Yeah. I think this is the first time he's been to Sicily, was to shoot this film.
He only died 3 years ago. My God.
Did he?
We should have had a thing.
He must have been old. He's not even young in this film.
46. Yeah, he's 95. Bloody hell.
But yes, John Turturro is in this, and he does have Sicilian heritage, and he's on hand to do all the acting for Christopher Lambert, thankfully. So yeah, it's charting the life story, and he really is meant to embody the sort of soul of Sicily, Christopher Lambert. So he's sort of come up from nothing and gains the hearts and minds and becomes a sort of near mythic hero of the people. But as he gets more and more famous, then people start to think twice about whether killing people and being very outspoken about it is actually good. And then he ends up pissing off the mafia that he staunchly refuses to align with, even though they are often holding out their hand to him to join them. So it's quite a self-contained story, and I don't know how it would connect to The Godfather, other than characters in this may have been mentioned or something in The Godfather, but there's certainly none of the main characters from The Godfather are in this. And there are some really handsome scenery shots. Like there's a really bit that I remember sticking out where he's riding on a horse with what's his name? Terence Stamp, and they're talking about the nature of ownership. Terence Stamp plays like a prince who owns vast amounts of land, and Christopher Lambert has a vaguely friendly relationship with him, but basically keeps asking him, why do you as one person have all of this land, and when there's people who need land to survive that you could just give to and it wouldn't make any difference to you, and so on. And they're having this sort of conversation whilst it's on a long lens shot looking over this immense valley behind them. And it's just kind of, you'd think, okay, very well done. It's carefully composed shot to kind of capture as much scenery as possible while simultaneously having them tight in on the frame. So it's well done, but it is quite boring. It's long, and I gather there's a director's cut which makes it much better. This, I think, was butchered by the producer, but I can only imagine, how much longer it could be with, and whether that would make it more interesting, maybe. But I've not seen the director's cut. But yeah, so it's pretty straightforward story, and there's no real surprises, other than characters have erratic changes of heart about things, which again I think is probably because they cut out scenes that would position them that way. But yeah, and there's some weird well, it's not 70s, 80s weird sort of talk. Like there's a bit where a woman's asking him to rape her and says, "If you don't rape me, then I'm going to rape you." And you're sitting there going, would she say
Standard
that?
Conversation, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not a conversation I've ever had.
No. So yeah, I was hoping for it to be a bit of an undiscovered gem in the vein of the Godfather, but it feels like a weak imitation, really.
It's the fact they've got fucking Christopher Lambert, and this is fantastic.
Astonishing. Where is that available?
It's on Amazon Prime.
Hell yeah.
Worth watching for Turturro. He's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say Terence Stamp is a link to the last couple of episodes where we talked about the hit as well. I just like the links between episodes. Sorry, go on, Rupert. Sorry to interrupt.
I could do one more quick one before I collapse into just break down into a mist. I watched Goat at the cinema, which is an animation from Sony Imageworks, who did K-pop Demon Hunters and Spider-Verse films. And this one is an underdog story about a goat who wants to compete with the bigger animals in a pumped-up version of basketball called Raw Ball. It's kind of a Zootropolis type world where anthropomorphized animals live together. And the goat of the title is Will, played by Caleb McLaughlin of Stranger Things fame. He's really good at Raw Ball, and he finally gets his opportunity to play professionally when befriends his hero, who's like a panther or something. She mentors him, but she's got her own demons about being in the twilight of her career. Anyway, the team goes from laughingstock to the brink of winning the title, and it's a beautiful film. Very vibrant art style. Obviously, they got these gorgeous watercolor style backgrounds, but almost like tactile character models, like physical puppets. Almost as good looking as The Last Wish, Puss in Boots film. Almost. It's just a pity about the script, which isn't entirely unsurprising by the numbers underdog rags to riches story. Like, you think about like Spider-Verse. I haven't seen K-pop, but Spider-Verse was like hugely irreverent and fourth wall breaking. This is just conventional. Dare I say a bit boring and sentimental? I think I do. But it's also mixed with a slightly mean-spirited, snarky sense of like put-down humour, which I found quite grating. It's got a huge cast of not very memorable, very annoying side characters, and it occurred to me this is actually a thing in modern animation, right? If you look at also Lightyear and Moana 2, both do this. It's where like the filmmakers are so desperate to have these minor characters that stand out they just make them loud and abrasive, wacky, or just plain irritating, so that you will somehow remember them. But it's lazy. And I kept thinking about how sophisticated the storytelling and characterization in Zootropolis 2 was. So you'd rather just might as well watch that, really. I will say my 5-year-old son was utterly enthralled by it, though. He watched it at Holiday Club, and he desperately wanted me to like it, so I had to lie to his face. But because I actually just think its amazing visuals are just a smokescreen for its complete mediocrity.
I wish you'd said that to him.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, but the visuals are just a smokescreen for its utter mediocrity, to be honest.
And you would put his hand up and say, "What is a smokescreen?" And you would say this, and then throw something on the floor and run off, lifting your knees really high comedically.
And then you'd be shouting behind me, "Also, what's mediocrity?"
Yeah. I think your opinion's mediocre, Dad.
Yeah. This is your chance. This is just bad fathering. This what this review exposes. You need to sit him down, grab him, put matchsticks in his eyes, and just explain what zinc is to him. For God's sake.
Yeah, really missed an opportunity there.
Yeah, he said, "I didn't talk about zinc, Dad." Not even Tom Zink, the NFL player, whatever he is. Sometimes with it's funny you should talk about K-pop, because I've watched that film probably double figures now, but the soundtrack is so strong, and I have no problem with it, that I don't mind at all. Do you think with this film that the fact that it's so obviously, like, this is what's the word I'm looking for here? The target audience is obviously kids, and the fact that you're saying it's like really tired and just sort of by the numbers is probably going to be quite fresh to young kids. So does that make it accessible for a certain demographic, as opposed to us old hacks that will be like, "Oh, here we go again"? Is it because it follows such a solid roller coaster? Yeah,
accessible for them, unacceptable for us, because we've seen it all before. It's lazy. But I don't know, because you could still, like K-pop or Spider-Verse, like, they can still be enjoyed just on a kind of superficial, childlike level, I guess. But they're also smart and enjoyable for adults as well. So it didn't have to be an either or, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, and I suppose, again, just because it's my sort of era of expertise at the moment, with K-pop, you've got the sort of Korean influences, the fact the songs are half Korean, half English, and it's such a strong soundtrack. Are there songs in this?
No.
That's a problem for me with animated films. I do like a song at the moment.
You do need a song, don't you?
Yeah.
Do the kids enjoy them just because these things are 100 miles an hour?
Pretty much, probably.
Because my sister messaged me this week to tell me that my nephew's finally got round to watching Jurassic Park. And I was like, "Oh yeah, what did he think?" Apparently he thought it was boring, and he got his Switch out and started playing it halfway through.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like,
he's 27.
Yeah. I was like, well, it gets, like, he might enjoy it when things kick off, and apparently he did think it got better towards the end, but he much prefers Jurassic World.
Jesus Christ.
So I've disowned him now.
Which is a film in which kids go to, like, the park and just play on their phones instead of looking at the dinosaurs. It's quite ironic.
Maybe he felt like he could relate. I think that this is definitely a thing with them. I think I mentioned the last episode, that thing I watched online where someone said they tried to watch a film and people were like answering the door, cooking stuff, and still claiming they were watching the film. I do think this is just how it's going to go, because with my son, he was watching. He's into Minecraft, and people have done these like Minecraft, almost like mini movies where it's them voicing over, but they're over builds and things they're doing in Minecraft. It's actually quite time-consuming and clever, but then he will click on shorts and it's just total nonsense, and he will click and watch it and skip, and I'm nipping it in the bud by saying, "Buddy, don't watch these, because they're too quick, they're not showing anything." And I'd rather him watch long-form stuff, because I don't want him to go down that route of just thinking that the quicker and the the sort of
the
more
dopamine
briskly
hit,
edited something is, the better it is, because I think that's genuinely wrong.
It's a dangerous path.
Yeah, I think I want to stop that now. Yeah, so I've got a load of Andrei Tarkovsky films on this.
I was going to say, stick on the Deer Hunter.
But yeah, it is.
Watch
It's
the
a
Sicilian. It'll be
Yes.
sound as a pound.
Say, Daddy, that man's accent's a bit wobbly. Yes, it is. Don't worry, we'll put Highlander on after this. It'll clear everything up for you. And then Highlander 2, which will probably bring more questions than answers, to be honest, darling. You should definitely give your sister a slap as hard as you can till her teeth come out and land in your mouth, because I think that it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. Because I think it is a problem, this whole the dopamine hit thing. I know people are concerned about forcing their own interests on children, but I think there's forcing your interests on a child, and then there's right and wrong. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll sort them out.
Good work. Yeah, you're gonna I know you're saying, yeah, I'll sort them out as you're online typing in how to get your fists bronzed. So you can go down there with one enormous metal fist and say, "Look, we're gonna have a conversation." I know
any words.
Conversation without words. I think that's going to be the episode title, isn't it? Let me just plot that in. Can I really quickly, just because I hate having loads of stragglers, I'm going to do a quick 5-minute catch up and we can wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay?
Sure.
I know Rupert, bless him, he's not very well.
I do have to be up at 5 a.m. Don't worry about it, guys. That's fine.
I'll be super fast. Okay, so The Great Flood is a Korean sci-fi movie that's really, really good. You should watch it, but don't read anything about it, because the fact that I said it was a sci-fi movie is a spoiler in itself. I watched Ed Wood from 1994, which was my film of the week, because it is a film that is based on something that is a laughing stock, but is one of the most upbeat, charming, and uplifting films I've ever seen. And every time I watch it, I just think it just brings like a forgotten Hollywood to life. And I'll leave the other one for another time. So that's it. And now we're on to our films of the week.
Oh yeah.
So I would say, for me, I mean, Jesus Christ, Giallo. Friday the 13th, Ready to Rumble. I'll just say Ed Wood, because it was the film that I watched, and I dislike the word life affirming, but when I watched it, I felt good. At the end of it, I felt good. It's such a glorious celebratory film, and it's such a balancing act, and everyone in it just really plays their part so beautifully that it feels like an absolute celebration of something, even when it's sort of down to someone's personal nadir sort of thing. So yeah, Ed Wood is my film of the week, even though I talked about it for 4 seconds.
I'll go with The Fly.
All of the films I talked about weren't particularly good. I guess I'll go with The Sicilian, just because it feels like it's got more substance than the rest.
And yet, of all the films you've mentioned, The Wrecking Crew is the one I want to watch the most.
Yeah.
The Arkinz'Dar this week, I think we need to make it a bit easier. It is stumped. I've had messages of people saying, I'm stumped. I don't even know who that person is in some cases.
I got there, but my God, there's a few steps in mine.
We've only got one entry this week. That's how thin on the ground it is. So what did you both... So the Arkinz'Dar this week is Peter Weller to Rod Steiger. The fact you're laughing at that
because I can't even count the number of steps I have.
Oh my God!
Rod Steiger was in the heat of the night with Sidney Poitier, who was in Sneakers with Robert Redford, who's in The Natural with Robert Duvall, who's in Falling Down with Michael Douglas, who's in Traffic with Miguel Ferrer, who is in RoboCop with Peter Weller.
Jesus Christ, 6-stepper, fair play.
Yeah, there's films in there I've not even heard of. So yeah, well done. I've smashed this, by the way. I've got a 3-stepper.
Oh, nice.
I was saved. It feels like a cheat, but it happened organically. I was saved by YouTube, and a video popped up about The Specialist, and I was like, "Oh, The Specialist! I like that trash." Stuck it on, and look who was in that: Rod Steiger.
Really?
So I've got.
That's amazing.
Rod Steiger was in The Specialist with Sharon Stone, who was in Total Recall with Ronnie Cox, who was in RoboCop with Peter Weller.
Nice.
Beautifully done. And it's a 3-stepper from Dave Chod, our regular, who is an absolute fuck the listeners. Just us. We shouldn't even release this podcast. And I was hoping it would be a different route, and it is. He said that Peter Weller was in RoboCop with Nancy Allen, who's in The Last Detail with Jack Nicholson, who's in Mars Attacks with Rod Steiger.
Oh.
So that's nice. I like that. The Last Detail and Mars Attacks films you don't kind of they're not the usuals, avoiding the Marvels and DCs of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations. It's a joint between. Do you think we should actually start keeping score between the audience and you guys?
Probably should, really.
Let's start it. Okay, so we'll start off with a draw.
Okay, excellent. It's dynamic.
Okay, that's it. Yeah,
just go back and listen to all 115 episodes and check the results.
Yeah, see what it is.
Get lazy.
Yeah, but then we'll also have to have like a separate league table for when Laszlo joined us, so it's even more complicated, and then keep like 3 running like lines together. So the new Arkinz'Dar, what are we thinking? I'm not going to lie. I was tempted to go with Johnny Depp because he's a biggie. We haven't had him before, and I think the last one was a bit of a deal breaker with some people when they thought, "Who the heck is Rod Steiger?"
Need to man up.
My choices are this from my side. I'll let you two decide the other. I want it to either be Johnny Depp or Scott Caan.
I think we should probably go with Johnny Depp.
Yeah. What about Momoa or Batista? Or they've come up a few times today.
Momoa, it'd be nice because obviously we try not to reuse the actors. So Johnny Depp to Jason Momoa could be a nice breezy palate cleanser.
Yes. Okay.
And again, message if you want to do this. We do it all through the social media stuff, but if you want to message us, it's the Kino Kingdom at protonmail.com. Or are you okay for me to read out your number, Laszlo? Like you said, just your telephone number and your full address?
Yeah, please. Yes.
Okay. It's 82 15 inches on the flop lane. I have my tongue on my cheek then, mate, don't worry.
Oh, I love the idea that it would be number 82 and then another number.
So yeah, it's Johnny Depp to Jason Momoa for the next one, which I will certainly take a note of.
The next street along is like 13 inches on the flop.
Yeah, 83, 15 inches on the flop lane. Yeah, like it's clearly a nickname. Clearly the guy who named it is going to... Well, we like to call in the business a proper shagger, a deep shagger. And he's not talking about his carpets. So we end, obviously, as always, with a thank you for listening, everyone. And we're going to end with something from Max Hilarity's Gag Corner. And come on up at the back. At breakfast... Tina Turner always ate her pancakes first, batter, then all the rest. And
better than all the rest. Or... Could reread it.
Yeah.
Better.
Read it out again. It'll be funny the second time.
No.
I mean, I just needed to make sure I got it.
I didn't
know. I don't
know if you remember last time, but we wanted to end on, we're trying to get into the ASMR market. So last time we talked about defunct UK supermarkets and outlets. And today we'll be talking about notable defunct UK car brands, primarily US and global. Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Saab, Plymouth, Mercury, Saturn, Scion, Hummer, Studebaker, DeSoto, Triumph, Rover, folded in 2005. Austin and Morris, that merged into BMC before fading away. Jensen Motors, mostly known for the Interceptor, they closed in 1976. Other notable mentions, Duesenberg, which was a luxury car brand between 1913 and 1937. Packard, a luxury car brand from 1899 till 1958. NSU, which was a German brand taken over by Volkswagen in 1969. Matra, a French manufacturer. And Coda, an electric vehicle startup. These brands often failed due to economic recessions, poor management, or failure to adapt to changing market trends.